Today's topic is imaging in obstetrics and gynecology. So we will be dealing with different ultrasounds and imaging methods like CT, MRI. So first we start with ultrasound. So ultrasounds, basically they are the sound waves which are greater than audible range of frequency more than 20,000 Hertz. And medical ultrasound uses frequency from 3 to 5 megahertz. And other applications of ultrasound like sonar and all sound navigation system, they use other frequencies, but we as doctors use frequencies from 3 to 5 megahertz for transabdominal scans and 5 to 7 megahertz for the transvaginal scans. So this was the original use of detection of icebergs. And the scan machine basically consists of a transducer probe which transmits and receives the ultrasound waves. So this is a transvaginal probe, and this is a screen to view the image, and this is the control panel. So basically it uses something called as an inverse piezoelectric effect. So when an electrical impulse is applied to a piezoelectric crystal, the ultrasound waves are produced, and these ultrasound waves pass through the tissues, are reflected back to the transducer, and it produces an image on the screen, and it uses 256 shades of gray. And this transmission, it requires a coupling gel at the point of contact for the transmission of sound waves. So image formed on the screen depends on the amount of waves which are reflected by the tissue, which again depends on the acoustic density of the tissue. Suppose if it's a bone, a stone or an air, they will reflect the whole beam and form the bright white images which are called as the echodense or echogenic images. Suppose if it's a fluid like a urine, amniotic fluid and blood, and they will transmit most of the waves, so no echoes are formed and they appear black, so they are usually anechoic. Now medical ultrasounds have been used in various modes. So one is the two-dimensional ultrasound, which can also be used in B mode, M mode, real time, grayscale. All these are two-dimensional ultrasounds, and then came the three-dimensional ultrasound. And then when the three-dimensional ultrasound was combined with real time, it was called as a 4D ultrasound. And then there is a Doppler ultrasound, which have the red signals and the blue signals for the blood going away and the blood going towards the probe. And then there is power Doppler, which uses only the yellow lighted up images, and there is no blue and red in the power Doppler, it's only yellow. Now coming to obstetrical ultrasound, so we can use transabdominal probes and transvaginal probes, and we usually use a frequency of 3.5 to 7 depending upon whether we are using a transabdominal or transvaginal transducer. The first trimester scan can be done, it's usually done to know the location to rule out ectopic pregnancies for dating purposes, and the 11 to 14 week scan is done again for the nuchal translucency. And then again in that second trimester, we do a TIFA scan, also called as a targeted imaging of fetal anomalies, also called as anomaly scan or the 18 to 20 week scan. And then there is a third trimester scan, which is also called as a growth scan. Now there is something called PCPNDT, that is a preconception and prenatal diagnostic techniques which prohibit the gender selection, and it came in 1994 and it was amended again, and the procedures were allowed to do the ultrasounds, and the persons who were qualified to do the ultrasounds on obstetrical patient, and the written consent of women was obtained, and it was prohibited to disclose the gender of the fetus. So this is very strictly being followed in India. And now coming to the first trimester ultrasound. So first trimester scan serves the purpose of assessment of normal early pregnancy. So whether it's an ectopic pregnancy or an intrauterine pregnancy, it also helps to rule out the molar pregnancies, and also useful to find out whether it is a singleton or a twins or a triplet pregnancy. Now assessment of normal early pregnancy, you should be able to see the gestational sac by around 4.5 weeks, should be able to see the yolk sac by 5 weeks transvaginally, should be able to see the fetal node by around 5.5 to 6 weeks, and fetal heart can be visualized by 6 weeks in a transvaginal ultrasound. Now a normal intrauterine gestation, how does it look like? It may not be located exactly in the center, so it may be located near the fundus or near the posterior wall or near the cervix. It is usually regular in outline, and sometimes there is a presence of yolk sac which can be identified, and sometimes you may confuse it with the double decidual sac sign or a twin pregnancy, but mostly we should be able to delineate the yolk sac. Now this is a 5-week pregnancy, so we see that this is the uterus, okay, so it is intrauterine in position, and then we are able to see the fetal pole hair, and the margins of the sac are regular, and it is also eccentrically placed. Now this is a singleton intrauterine pregnancy with a gestational sac with regular margins. Now this is the gestational sac. We can see a fetal pole hair, and then here one anechoic structure is seen, which is the yolk sac. This is the yolk sac visualized in the side. This is a blighted ovum in which we just see an empty sac with no fetal pole, and the sac is also irregular in outline. Now this picture is a transabdominal ultrasound. It is never as clear as transvaginal. So the earlier pictures were transvaginal. This is a transabdominal ultrasound. This is a snowstorm appearance in a molar pregnancy, so we do not see any fetal pole hair. So this is a complete mole. This is again a vesicular mole, so sometimes a fetal part is seen here. So this is an incomplete mole, and this is the degeneration of the chorionic villi with a cystic fluid filled spaces resembling like a snowstorm. This is a partial mole. Now these are the 2 gestational sacs, and with a fetal pole in both the gestational sacs, and this is the 2 fetal which are separated by a, so this sign is also called as the lambda sign or the twin peak sign. So if it is like a T, that means it is only one amnion in between these two. So if it is like a lambda, that means it is amnion and chorion between these two sacs. So if it is shaped like a lambda, it's called as lambda sign, and it is 4 intervening membranes. So if the membranes, it will be dichorionic, diamniotic. This twin also has its own amnion and chorion. So this amnion, chorion and amnion here. So there are 4 intervening membranes, and it is thick at the margin. So the best time to determine chorionicity is at the first trimester, because as gestation advances, this sign will go away.